But Sakari brothers.
I know.
That's you and Samuel Dami. That's what we're calling you guys.
It feels good to be in Batakari.
No doubt, no doubt. Okay, so we've got all the headlines, but I suppose we ought to get started with a bit of a coronavirus update.
We certainly will. I mean, it's important around this time because even as we talk about having recorded 11 cases in Ghana, other countries are recording a lot of cases. And for me, the most important things are not just about, all the things about, washing your hands with soap. There's more to that. So you see, the problem is not about washing your hands with soap. In fact, the problem is more than washing your hands with soap. The problem is more than don't touch your face. And the problem is more than just using sanitizers. Because, Kojo, if you go to the U.S. today, they're facing a real battle. And the battle is to get equipment for even their medical personnel. And you know what that means? Since they are facing a battle to get equipment for their medical personnel, they would not give you or they would not export their medical equipment to you.
Yeah. Same for every country that manufactures.
Same for China, same for India. Talking about India, I know a pharmaceutical company here in Ghana that actually paid for the supply of thermometer guns. And in India, the company that he was waiting to supply the equipment said, well, I can no longer supply you because we have banned exports of medical equipment and essential drugs. So what we need to be thinking about is not just, wash your hands with soap, use sanitizers, don't touch your face. Because the other challenge is that in the state of New York, yesterday in 12 hours, they recorded 1,200 new cases. You know why? Because they're testing people now.
Yeah.
What they have done is just not to sit down and say, okay, if you meet the criteria, if you are having high temperature or whatever, so long as you've come into contact with somebody, and even if you want to undergo testing, you will be tested. And so we live in a country where we could probably, and I choose my words carefully, we could have more than the 11 cases because you would need to meet the Ghanaian criteria before we test you.
That's right.
But this presents other challenges. If we're not going to be getting medical supplies from India, from the EU, because they're also faced with this huge challenge, the US wouldn't import to us. They are facing challenges even with their test kits. How is Ghana coping with all of this? And that is the bigger problem we face. Because mind you, once you have the case, and the Lebanese case, for instance, is not one that came from outside the country.
As far as we're aware.
As far as we're aware. So what that means is that there could be community spread of coronavirus. So the simple question is, how do we ensure we're able to test more people? How do we ensure that we have medical supplies? How do we ensure that we have test kits? Go to the US today, and nurses and doctors are actually improvising. They're manufacturing their own nose mask because they are in short supply. What are we doing in
Genuine
Ghana?
nose mask.
Italy is on lockdown.
So it's France
is
now.
on lockdown. And if you go to the US, some states are in lockdown because they have tested and have recognized the problem they are facing. We are just saying, oh, let me look at you. You are a suspected case. You've shown all the symptoms that we are looking for. So let's go and test. For all you know, there is more. And if there's more, we probably would change the kind of response we have. So, Kojo, my point this morning is simply this. Let us begin to test a lot more people. Let us stop this whole thing about, we wait until you get... when people are entering the country, like saying, you self-quarantine, it's good. But we should also be testing them when they come into the country.
You raise an important point. You see, we have a case definition in Ghana, and it is when you meet that case definition that you get tested. Okay, and the case definition in Ghana at the moment includes two things. You must either have traveled to a country that has coronavirus, recently returned from such a country, or you must have come into contact with a confirmed case. So if you don't meet those criteria, even if you have symptoms, will your doctor refer you for a coronavirus test if you haven't traveled to any of these countries or you haven't come in contact, to your knowledge, come in contact with a person who has coronavirus? So maybe you're right. We have to start looking at the case definition and rejigging it or letting it evolve as the times go by. But when you call for more testing, do we have more test kits?
We don't.
That's the other question we have to ask.
We don't, and that's why I say we need to start looking at all of these things.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to go into the headlines now. On the front page of the Daily Graphic, these aren't normal times. See God's face for restoration. President tells Christians over COVID-19. NDC sues the EC for nominated to Supreme Court. Kwewu Easter cancellations will result in huge losses. That's according to GTA. The Transport Ministry spells out measures for bus operators against COVID-19, and 4 military personnel and others held for robbery on the back page of the Daily Graphic.
And the Go Street Business says BOJ announces monetary stimulus to contain COVID-19's economic impact, but banks pulling back from new lending rates, and COVID-19 threatening Ghana's pineapple exports to EU markets. And the back page, lots of PR stories. Let's move on.
Okay, so the Finder is reporting God heal our land. President calls on clergy to pray against. Kojo, is it clergy or clergy?
It's clergy.
Okay, just so that we're saying it right. And President calls on clergy to pray against coronavirus. Fuel prices, 63% taxes and margins make big drop difficult. GPHA suspends cruise ships but did not ban cargo ships. And yesterday there was a mistake with that story in the same newspaper. NIA implements social distancing as registration centers. We know that there's an update on that because Shraj has actually asked that the government intervene to stop NIA from doing from carrying out the registration. That's the Finder.
The Daily Statesman says, we're not in ordinary times. President urges Ghanaians to turn to God and observe COVID-19 safety measures. World Health Organization boss appointed to coordinate Ghana's coronavirus response program. And Akufo-Addo wants to rig 2020 elections with coronavirus disease. NDC raises alarm, comes with photograph of General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedin-Ketia.
The new weekend crusading guide, former WHO Deputy Director, appointed coordinator for coronavirus response program. Prayer will heal and raise Ghana up. A special dog trainer school has been opened in Ghana. The NPP youth group invade mining concession in Einam and Macdan to fund local production of hand sanitizers.
The Herald for this morning says, no Friday mosque, no Sunday church, as Akufo-Addo summons clergymen over surging COVID-19. Opuni trial judge partisan comments lands in appeals court, and NIA rubbishes Ghana Medical Association over coronavirus fears.
Okay, the Ghanaian Observer, COVID-19, a wake-up call to revamp industries. Akufo-Addo appoints former WHO Director. Professor Mensa Bonsu Kulendi, 2 others nominated to Supreme Court. And the NIA fires back over the Ghana card registration. That's it for the Ghanaian Observer.
And the Daily Guide says, COVID-19 hits 11 as Nana picks coronavirus chief. Mensa Bonsu for Supreme Court. And quarantine traveling MPs, majority leader. And 4 soldiers, 5 civilians arrested for robbery. The back page, I warned Pogba about Man U. Okay. And Aka quits Kotoko role, clubs reject coronavirus testing, and Mediema unperturbed despite points deduction.
All right, Winston, Lamentations 3:25. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. That's on the front page of the Chronicle. Opuni seeks second chance to remove judge. NDC finally runs to Supreme Court over new voters register, and Akufo-Addo calls on God to solve coronavirus. That's it for the headlines.
Right, let's do the online review. It's brought to you by Zenith Bank in your best interest and Goyle Good Energy. And listen, Goyle wants you to remember it's time for consumers to smile, and that includes you. They've released onto the market a higher grade Super XP RON 95 for all consumers. So from now on, every service station of Goyle's is going to offer you a higher grade Super XP RON 95 at no extra cost, and customers no longer need to pay more for any of their higher grade petroleum specifications. So you save money by buying Goyle's higher grade Super XP. Go to any station and you will experience less vibration and less noise from your engine, as well as better fuel economy for your vehicle, all at the same price. So choose the right petrol. Choose Goyle. Goyle Good Energy. Goyle Yenara Yedia. Now, as we all join in the preventive measures against the coronavirus pandemic, Zenith Bank encourages you not to panic. but to protect yourself and others too. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water. Clean your hands with sanitizers and avoid large crowds. Remember to call the COVID-19 MOH emergency hotlines. Let me go through them quickly. 0509 497 700 plus 0558 439 868 if you show any symptoms of the coronavirus. To the valued customers of Zenith Bank, while they encourage you to use their 24-hour electronic banking channels, please also be assured of your safety at all their branches. Customers may also call Zenith direct on 054 2000 111 for 24-hour assistance with any inquiry you may have on their electronic banking channels. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. Okay, here's what's online. MyJoyOnline.com has these. Mine workers want mining firms to heighten safety standards to prevent coronavirus spread. Economist urges government to provide stimulus packages to industries as coronavirus I was going to do that. That mistake. Wreaks havoc. Real Madrid striker faces criminal charges for breaking coronavirus quarantine. Man United pay casual workers if games are cancelled. Oh, that's nice of them. No drug or herbal medicine approved for coronavirus treatment. That's according to the FDA. And other online stories today, citynewsroom.com has, we've not violated Akufo-Addo's directives on public gathering. That's according to the NIA. And the reason they give is that they have instituted measures to ensure that it doesn't spread. I don't know how you can ensure that if I'm standing in a queue, I will not get coronavirus. How does the NIA ensure that?
Exactly.
They talk about social distancing in that report, and they say that, you know, spaces are being left.
But that doesn't ensure.
My concern is actually with the biometric registration process, because we're touching things, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we know that the virus is mostly spread from hands to face. And so unless you can guarantee that after every person that touches any of the equipment, the equipment is rubbed out, and it's
even
impossible.
That will not guarantee it. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
All of these things we're saying, they're to reduce chances,
but
they are not to guarantee. They're not
yeah.
to ensure. So why does the NIA insist that they can ensure and guarantee that there won't be a spread?
So, you know, I have a picture from a registration officer. That's the Kwewu Obo Presby Center. And
That's my hometown.
Is this? I mean, are they practicing social distancing?
This is not social distancing on any level.
Okay.
They're not even standing like 10 meters. People are standing right by each other. So, absolutely.
Why did the president agree to this? And if I want to hold an event, if I want to hold a block party, and I say that I can ensure that there will be no spread, will they give me permission to hold that block party? Is that how it works? If I go and tell the president I can ensure, then they let me go ahead? And why NIA? We've shut down our entire education system. Why is NIA so important that it must continue its work, you know,
regardless?
Regardless. Yeah. Are we not thinking of the safety of people? What is it that they are doing that is life and death? For which reason they must continue, even though there is a clear and present danger? Mentasi. Anyway, BBC.com has this coronavirus. California issues statewide stay-at-home order. Yeah, other people are waking up to the reality of it. Maybe one day we will too.
Okay, so let's get into the details now and straight into the daily guide where quarantine traveling MP. So the majority leader is, urged two members of parliament and some parliamentary staff who were on official assignments outside the country. Now, they went to India and Japan, and he's asked them to actually self-quarantine, and the two are Member of Parliament for Binduri, Robert Baba Kuganablem, and his counterpart for Ayawaso East, Nasar Ture Mahama. Now, he's asked the two of them and other parliamentary staff to self-quarantine. They just should not come to Parliament until after 14 days.
All right, Kojo, I'm having a bit of problems this morning because the Finder has put the story, GPHA suspends cruise ships, but it did not ban cargo ships. But I can't find the story in the newspaper.
Right.
So it says page 4, but on page 4, I have COVID-19. Ghana confirms 11 cases. Akufo-Addo's swift response to COVID-19 commendable, and more than 600 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Africa. And yet that particular story I cannot find. And it did raise a lot of concerns when it came up yesterday, because we talked about the fact that if the port was closed, then there would be issues in terms of things that we're bringing into the country. But they have clarified and said that the GPHA has suspended cruise ships but not cargo ships. So they find that we would appreciate the details of that story. I'm sure there must have been a mistake somewhere. Also, we know that over 600 people have been confirmed with coronavirus. It's been confirmed that they have coronavirus in Africa.
Right.
You remember that we had 116 in South Africa at the start of this week. It's gone up to over 150. So the cases seem to be, really going up.
But we must commend the more numbers you get. Yeah, but which means many people have it.
We must commend South Africa, though, because in 2 weeks they rose from, I think, 16 or so, or 10 to 116. And in the third week, the rate of infection seems to have, if they are testing, I'm not too sure about their case definition as well.
We don't know if they've run out of test kits already and are trying to get some. We don't know. Okay.
So that's it for our corona updates. I think we're moving on to
some business issues, also in relation to, the COVID-19, because the Bank of Ghana has announced some stimulus packages to contain COVID-19's economic impact. And you know that the Bank of Ghana reduced their policy rate from 16 to 14.5%, and also reduced primary reserve from 10 to 8%. But according to the Gold Street Business, banks are pulling back from the new lending rates, and they say that this virus could actually make a lot more people default in the payment of loans.
All right, and we want to say a big congratulations to Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu on her nomination to the Supreme Court. You continue to make us proud.
Very well done, Prof. Okay, in a moment we'll have the BBC News, but not before some important messages from our partners, including Goyle.
Hey, bro, I feel your